There are so many things I want to speak to Matthew Hurtt about. He's on the phone, our grassroots political analyst. Matthew, always great to have you on. Let's get right to the debate. I think that, of course, everybody saw what happened last night. I spent the good part of the first hour playing audio, so everybody knows. Here's my question for you. From a strategic standpoint, if you're a conservative, is this morning actually a moment for alarm bells for conservatives? And here's what I mean by that. You have all of these Democrats that are saying Joe must go. That means that Trump could be facing someone else, whether it is Wes Moore out of Maryland or Gavin Newsom out of California. Is that a concern for conservatives?
Dan, it's great to be with you. Joe Biden really needed Jamal Bowman to pull a fire alarm last night, and Jamal Bowman was nowhere to be found. I am pretty conservative on whether or not a party can switch its nominee out this late in the game. The rules do not allow for something like this. I saw a really great tweet this morning. Every target Democratic senator needs to be asked if they're going to accept the results of their state's primary or if they're going to deny and undermine democracy. And that's really what we're talking about at this point. If individuals, if Democrats, if consultants, if other members of Congress who backed Joe Biden for months are now having second thoughts, these individuals are, in fact, election deniers.
Yep.
Democratic voters in states across the country have expressed their view, and the process in both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party make it incredibly hard for the party to change courses in the middle of this race. And so I'm still pretty conservative about it. But, of course, this was a coordinated hit job against Joe Biden on every major network. You saw pundits. You saw Claire McCaskill on MSNBC. You saw many, many others who just knifed Joe Biden in the back again and again. And it is a little concerning. But I'm still pretty conservative on this. And I don't know, even though the Democratic convention is still a month and a few days away, that this is a possibility.
Well, earlier in the broadcast, I'll play it again at some point, but I had audio from Joy Reid and Nicole Wallace and Van Jones and some other folks, and they are all sounding that alarm. You talked about how, they were very brutally honest about the performance of Joe Biden. This is John King on CNN.
Minutes into the debate, and it continues right now. It involves party strategists. It involves elected officials. It involves fundraisers. And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket. And they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call? Because they feel this debate was so terrible. They do say in moments in the debate later, the president got better and got his footing. But then at the end, even his closing statement was...
No, he didn't. I would agree that he got stronger in voice last night, Joe Biden, but I don't feel like he got stronger in the points that he was trying to make. I mean, this is a funny headline, Matthew, from CNN. Biden struggles as Trump spews falsehoods. Well, during the Gang of Three Amigos just a few moments ago, I played you, I think it was about a 90-second fact check that CNN did on Joe Biden. So, I mean, you can say what you want about Donald Trump, but Joe Biden has been fact-checked for, since the debate ended last night.
Well, these Democrats and pundits and everyone that you've heard from overnight and into the morning, Joe Scarborough is on fire this morning. They have known for months and perhaps even years that Joe Biden didn't have the mental stamina and the capacity to continue to serve in public office. And it is a disservice. I feel bad for Joe Biden. It is a disservice to Joe Biden that these individuals in the media and the Democrats whose quest for power is so strong that they propped him up for so long, and only when it was clear that he could not perform. Earlier this week, you and I talked about the fact that if Joe Biden had another State of the Union evening, he would be fine. But Democrats are in panic mode because now it means they're going to lose elections. It didn't matter for the last 3 or 4 years when it was overwhelmingly evident. But now it matters because they're going to lose the election.
Well, and the thing is, Matthew, and that was my opening monologue, is we have been saying, you and I and conservatives have been saying for, years, really, that Joe Biden is not all there cognitively. He's been showing clear signs of a cognitive decline. And so, and I don't know, you said that Joe Scarborough is on fire this morning. I'm going to ask you what he's saying, but, we've known for a long time. And so this is just another instance where conservatives have been saying something and we've been called either, election deniers or conspiracy theorists or whatever it is, or just flat out liars when it turns out that we were right. I mean, you can chalk this right up there with the laptop from hell being credible to COVID may have come from a Chinese lab. Oh, and by the way, Joe Biden has cognitive decline. So I think this is just another example of the Democrats. They've been gaslighting us in America for, at least a year, but I would say a couple of years. You mentioned that Joe Scarborough is on fire this morning. I have so much audio, I didn't have time to go back and find the audio that I played a few days ago where Joe Scarborough was talking about how great Joe Biden was and how this is the best that Joe Biden has ever been. He actually said that. He and Mika said that just days ago. So I'm curious as to what he has to say for himself now.
So this morning there was about a 10-minute monologue, much like Van Jones, Joe Scarborough eulogizing Joe Biden, saying, quote, he tragically did not rise to the occasion last night. You can see it in his body language. You can see it in Mika's face and her body language. It is like the wind was just taken right out of them, and this is what we're going to see for days. There's a communications professional for the member of Congress in my district. The congressman is Don Beyer. And he is still out to lunch on this. He used a bunch of quotes about previous debates and how this is going to be okay. But we have not seen a performance like this from any president or candidate for president. And this is going to stick with the American people. When the CNN flash poll says 67% of respondents think Donald Trump won the debate, that is significant. And I think Donald Trump did very well. He did not shout into a muted mic. His answers were thoughtful and thorough and measured, and his tone was good. And I think he really came off in a way that would resonate with people when you put them side by side and you ask an honest American who is fit for office. They cannot say Joe Biden, and they have to say that Donald Trump gave and I'll apologize, gave one hell of a debate performance last night.
He did, and you're right. He was measured. I think the big word that I would utilize is disciplined. Donald Trump was definitely disciplined. This is the front page of, at least it was a couple of hours ago, from Drudge. Operation Replace Biden. How to replace the president with 130 days to go. The New York Post, Biden's candidacy in doubt after weak frozen debate performance against Trump leaves Dems in aggressive panic. And I think you were talking about how you're not sure that they can replace Joe Biden at this point. It's up for debate about what can happen at the convention. Could Joe Biden step down? Obviously, he could step down, and then they got to deal with Kamala Harris, right?
Not exactly. And, if I'm going to start a punk rock band, I'm going to call it Aggressive Panic.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
What is going to be frustrating for Kamala Harris and for black women who make up a significant percentage of the enthusiasm in the Democratic Party is that she will 100% not be the person that they select. If there is a situation, we get to the Democratic convention in a month and a few days, she is not going to be the one. Gavin Newsom was interviewed last night dozens of times. He had this devilish grin on his face. There are many, many other, I would say, strong Democrats, strong in their own way, who party leaders could select in a situation like this. But this is not something that has happened. Millions of Americans have voted for Joe Biden, and this would be a usurpation of democracy for a party with 2,000 or 3,000 delegates to change, to basically ignore the results of dozens of primary elections, thousands and tens of thousands and millions of votes cast, and say, no, the Democratic Party, the base does not get to select. These party leaders get to select, and I think that will cause an even more significant backlash.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Gavin Newsom himself has been saying for a year now, oh, Joe Biden's fine. Joe Biden's today is as good as he was 30 years ago. Gavin Newsom has been saying that. So clearly he has been involved in, the Democrats always like to accuse Donald Trump of the big lie, right? The election was stolen. Well, I could say that the Democrats peddling Joe Biden as mentally competent is an even bigger lie, because he is the president of the United States. And last night they were exposed. Not only Joe Biden was exposed, the Democrats were exposed for all of the lies that they have been telling, from Cringe Jean-Pierre to Jen Psaki to all of the Democrats, rank and file, the media as well. America found out just how bad they've been lying. We, of course, you and I, Matthew Hurtt, and all of us listening, we've known for a long time this has been going on. I want to play you this audio bite. I was trying to figure out if this was actually real. This was last night, apparently post-debate. This is Jill Biden and Joe Biden.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
What in the world, Matthew Hurtt? What is that? I mean, and Joe, I don't know if you've seen the actual video. I tweeted it out. Joe looks like a little kid who's waiting to get his juice box.
The point you make about the little kid is what's even more heartbreaking. I'm in a chat group with some friends, several of whom have had parents who've had dementia and Alzheimer's, and they say that's the face they saw in their father. That's the face they saw in their mother. But to your point about, Gavin Newsom boosting Joe Biden for months and months, any Democrat who has said that, who then in a hypothetical situation gets switched out with Joe Biden, is going to say, the Democratic Party needed me, my country needed me, and you're going to see that tone change again in a hypothetical situation where they take Joe Biden off the top of the ticket. You also have to consider which states have already required their candidates to file the necessary paperwork or the filing fee or the petitions to get them on the ballot. Is the Democratic Party going to be able to switch out candidates if some states' deadline has already passed? So there's a lot of legal and bureaucratic hurdles.
Yep.
And it also is a really bad look for the Democratic Party to say 2,000 or 3,000 delegates get to pick, not the millions of Democratic primary voters.
And that's a great point, and we'll leave it there. Matthew Hurtt, as always, appreciate your time and your analysis. Spot on, as always. How can folks find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at Matthew Hurtt, MatthewHurtt.